Part 1 of this video was made completely in my conservatory. Part 2, to be released very shortly, was made on location, setting up using a third flash and a coloured gel. Okay, today I thought I'd do a video of my camera trapping equipment, which I use when you see me out in the field setting up camera trapping equipment. I thought I'd put it on the table and run things through you. Okay, so what I actually use is I use two cameras. I use a Nikon 3200. So this is my Nikon 3200. You don't need an expensive camera for this. You can pick these up about £100 or so. You probably pick this camera here, the Nikon 3200 there, with a cheap kit lens. The kit lenses are absolutely fine for what we're going to use it for. I think £125. They're getting old now, but it has got a 24 megapixel APS sensor in it, and it's a pretty good sensor, and it's a pretty good camera. So it's a great camera as a starter. This one is a little bit more advanced, only slightly of course. This is the Nikon D3300. Now this one has been converted to full spectrum infrared, and I use that for special camera trapping, and for that I need special flashes, and the flashes I actually put in the housing. This is one of the housings I use here, and if you can see at the front of there's a black filter. It's not actually black, it's a 720 nanometer infrared filter. So when I put a flash inside there and you use this in combination of a setup, I get an infrared shot. So that's the infrared side of it. But down to this one. Excuse me. Okay, so down to this setup here, what you basically need is you need a DSLR, and these cameras are pretty good because the old ones, like the 3200 here, you can put a battery in here, you can go into the menu, and you can turn everything off. So basically you have to press the button to review it, etc, etc. So it uses a minimum battery, absolute minimum battery. So I can put this out in the field in one of my housings. I've got 3 housings here, but I can put it in one of my housings here, and the battery will last weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, I've had these out for 3 months and the battery's still got power in it. So this is why you'd use a SLR, a digital SLR, rather than a mirrorless. So that's the camera, and that's the lens. Okay, so you got your camera and you got your housing. This is a housing. I've got this on a homemade platform, so I can get it low to the ground. This housing here has got a dome on the front of here. It's got a full 180 dome on it, so I can actually use this camera here, a very wide angle camera there, and I can put that in the housing and get night sky shots. But back to this one. This is the one I use all the time. This is the one I made. Well, I've made them all, but this is one I've made, and it's it was a pelly case or something similar, pelly case. I've drilled a large hole in the front there, and I've put on it a piece of pipe, and in there is one of the largest filters you can get. I think it's something like 180 millimeter, something like that, I can't remember. A UV filter. Basically, it's stuck on there with silicone, and it's all completely waterproof. But I've made 3, and what I do when I've made them, I actually put some white tissue paper inside them, toilet paper basically, lock them all up, fill the bath up, chuck them in the bath overnight, and make sure this seal doesn't leak. So if it doesn't leak, it's never going to leak when it's out in the rain. So I've got 3 of those for various jobs. So then there's various ways of bolting it to the post or to the stand or whatever you want to do. Of course, this one's a low carriage here. It's just a wooden frame with a ball head on it, and this one moves about, tips and tilts. And the bottom of them all, I've actually put an Arca Swiss plate on there, so it'll accept anything what will accept an Arca Swiss plate, like this ball head, etc. is perfect. Under here, if I just reach down and get under here, here is something I made. I welded it up in the garage, and I painted it camouflage, and it's got spikes on the back of it here and a big strap. And what that basically does, if you're going into the field or anywhere, and all there is one big large tree, you've got nothing to fasten to, this actually goes to the tree, the strap goes all the way around, you can clamp it all the way up, and then the ball head goes on there, and you've got a mounting place for that. So that's what that's for. Now then, so here we go. So we've got the camera. Once you've got your camera, you need a sensor. Now I use Camtraption sensor, and it's this one. This is the Camtraption version 3. The version 2 is cable only. So this one is wireless and cable. So you can actually take that little pip out there, and there's a little socket in there to plug your flashes in via the PC socket. I don't do that. I use triggers, Camtraption triggers. So that's the sensor. Now this has barn doors on it, so you can actually narrow the beam. So when anything passes it, you ain't got a broad beam. You can narrow it down to isolate little areas, things like that. It's got, I'm not going to go into the details of all the settings on here, because you can set it for dark, light, daytime, nighttime, delay activity. You can set it to set video, but all I'm going to do is do a basic setup. So when anything passes it, it'll fire the flash. And I'll do a little demonstration after I've shown you this equipment. I'll set up and I'll walk through it like a little tiger. It'll fire the flash. So that's the sensor. Now the flashes, the best flashes you can get are these flashes here, which is Nikon, and they're the SB28s. There is SB28As as well. They're very, very similar. Now these flashes was made approximately 29 years ago. This one's at least 18 years old or thereabouts. Now the reason they use these, it's got a capacitor in it, what holds the charge longer than any other flash on the market, even today. So these will go on standby, and it might not fire for 2 months. Something will go past, it'll fire instantly. Where another flash, it would go on standby, the sensor would set it off, and it would charge up, and then it would fire. By that time, the animal's gone. So that's the reason they use SB28s. Camtraptions do make a couple of flashes, and how they get around it, they actually leave the flash on, so it actually drains the batteries. They're good for maybe a day, 2 days, but these I can leave out on standby for months, literally. This for months, and the sensor I've had it out for a year. In here we've got 8 batteries. In here we've got 4 batteries, and these are AA batteries. AA batteries, they're just an ordinary AA battery. They are 4 of them in there. I use Enelope rechargeables normally, or Amazon Basics, and to be honest, I can't find the difference between either or either. They both seem to last of a similar time. If this could flash 200 or 300 times on rechargeable batteries at something like 16th power, and it would still fire again. So that's how good they are. They're pretty good. Now the sensors you need, there's 2 types of sensors. You've got, if I just put them to the camera there, you've got on this side here, you've got a receiver and you've got a transmitter. So you need a pair. Now then, what happens is you turn your sensor on, bolt it to something, turn it on, and this is on channel 1. So if anything goes past it, it'll send a signal. It sends 2 signals. It sends a signal to wake the camera up and a signal to fire. So if your camera's going to standby, it sends a short pulse, wakes the camera up, and then the next one fires the camera. So there's no delay. So it's like a double signal for that one. So that wakes your camera up. So that's on channel 1. Your receiver there, that's your receiver. If I switch it on, if you look, that little green light is on, that's on channel 1. It'll go off now. If I press it again, you'll see it come on. That's on channel 1. So that's the receiver. The transmitter, if you look there, I've just pressed the button, the green light's come on, it's on channel 2. I'll press it one more time. You'll see I press the button, it's on channel 2. So you've got a combination of about, I don't know, 16 channels. I only ever use 1 and 2. This is permanently on channel 1. So when you switch it on, you know it's on channel 1. Now your receiver, that sends a signal to this one here, which I actually have a cable which goes into the side of it. So that's there's a little hole there that says camera. It goes into the side of there, and your remote camera socket on the side of your camera. You need the appropriate cable for your camera, with Canon, Nikon, whatever you're going to use, Hasselblad, and it goes into the back of there, just like so. So what happens here now is that you turn your sensor on, you turn your camera on, you put your manual settings in, the settings you're going to use, and when anything goes past the sensor, it'll send a signal to the camera, and the camera will fire. Of course, at this point, you've got no flash whatsoever at this point, so this is where you need a flash. So this is where you need a transmitter now. So it transmits a signal from the top of the camera. Just put it on the top of the camera. All this is fitted inside the housing. So we've got the sensor, the PIR sensor on channel 1, senses something going past it, sends a signal to the receiver, which fires the camera. The camera fires, sends a signal up to the hot shoe. This transmitter then sends a signal out to another receiver. So then you've got another receiver on here. So you've got a receiver on your flash. And if I just show you that on there, You can see that little light on there is on number 2. If I do it one more time, you might see it come on. I don't know if you can see that on 2. So what happens is you fire your camera, something goes past the sensor, it fires the camera's shutter, the shutter fires while it's open, it sends a signal up through to the hot shoe, the transmitter sends a signal out to the receiver to the flash, and the flash fires. Now these flashes might have been on standby for 3 weeks, but they will instantly on that double pulse, because it sends a double signal out, and it wakes it up and fires it. And if it didn't wake it up, it would send a signal which would wake it up, and then the animal would have passed, and then the next time it went past, it would fire if it hadn't gone back in standby. So this is what makes these unique. I've had these now for maybe 6 years. I think I've got 8 of these SP28s altogether. And when they come on eBay, you have to buy them as quick as you can because they go pretty quickly. When I was buying them, it was £25. They can fetch up to £100 now because for this use with camera trapping. Now, the only problem I've got with these now, because they're that old, you can't buy them new and you can't buy anything like it new, is that if I just show you the bottom of the foot there, on that particular one, it's gone brittle. And the little black lip was snapped off on one of them. It still works absolutely fine. What you can actually do, you can actually put the foot on, tape it on and put it in a housing and it still works fine. But you can no longer mount it. So I've got 3 of these with broken feet, but so they was introduced 29 years ago, and I say they're at least 18 years old, so they're going to be brittle. I mean, some of these have been out in the wild in all weathers. I never bring them in for up to 3 to 4 years. Never fetch them in. All I go down there, change the batteries, service them, and cover them back over and come away. So they never come in. I've had them in for about 18 months. Due to hospital visits, and I couldn't get out and do what I wanted to do, so I'm now putting it back out. So I'm showing you the equipment now. Okay, we've run through the equipment you need. You've got yourself a digital SLR, and you've got yourself your Camtraption's PIR sensor to capture the animal. You've got your transmitters and your receivers to send signals to your camera and your flash. Your camera's in a waterproof housing with all its sensors. They're all waterproofed. You've got your sensor, you've got your PR sensor, which is 100% waterproof as well, and then you've got your flashes. So what do we do with the flashes? Well, what I do is this. I went out and bought quite a load of these because you end up breaking them over the years. These are simply windbreak poles from a camping shop. I think they're about £5 each or something along that line, or £5.50 it says on the side of here. So they're about £5 a piece. And then what I did, I simply got some green paint, some matte green spray paint off Amazon, and some brown matte spray paint. So I got khaki green, khaki brown, and then I got all my equipment. You can see spray painted here. Sprayed it all khaki green, so it was all green, completely green. And once that had gone off, I went to the garden, got some broadleaf, and I put broadleaf over the green, and I just got a spray can and get a quick squirt, and this is what created the camouflage pattern. Now, that is not going to fool any animal whatsoever, particularly a fox. So you're not going to fool any animal. But the reason I did it is because sometimes when I set these camera traps up, they're not a million miles away from gates. So maybe you can see something standing out like a sore thumb. You don't want to do that. So it's simply just to keep things hidden from the public. I never do things in public places. It's always on private land and it's always in the middle of nowhere. But there's always that chance somebody could pick up some on binoculars or some of your equipment. So I didn't want to do that. So everything's camouflaged. So that's what we do with the camera. Okay, so where you've got your camera pointed and you've got your sensor set up, you'll have done your hands test and it's firing, everything's fine, everything's working fine. But then you've got to set your flashes up. So what I've done, because over the years, what I've learned over the years is you might go down, it could be very dull, and your flashes are very effective because I've got a light meter. I can set them up with a light meter and it's very effective. But should you go out on a bright sunny day and well, it's like a chocolate fire guard, that flash meter in the daytime. So what I do is I set wherever the subject's going to fire the sensor, wherever it's going to be, I put these about approximately two meters away. So I set 2 up, so 2 meters away. So I've got them at 2 meters. I put the flash on. So I put the flash on, and this would be the pole. So we've got the flash here. So we've got the flash mounted on the sensor. That's a that's a hot shoe stand, a flash stand. On the bottom of a flash stand there, you've got like a quarter thread. So I've got a clamp on there. This is a small rig clamp, and it's very, very versatile. So this would be on your pole. So I'll simply put it on your pole, tighten it on your pole, and then you can position this anywhere you like. So we simply position this where we like. So I now set these at a 16th power at the moment. So I'll put it on. I'll put it on now, and I will set this to 1/16th power in manual. So I'm going to reduce this to 16th power. So I'm putting it to manual, 16th power. 16th power. So it's exactly 1/16th power. So I'll have them both to start with at 16th power, both of them 2 meters away from the firing distance. So if the squirrel or the rabbit or the fox or the badger or the whatever's going to be in that area, then I've got these at 2 meters. So I've got them at F16, sorry, I've got them at 16th power at 2 meters, about 45 degrees apart if I can get it, and slightly above if the terrain allows it. So then I know then that if I put my camera on ISO 400 and I have it on F9, I'm in the ballpark. I am not far out at all. And that's every time. So if you move your flash back, you'd have to increase the flash power. If you move it forward, you have to reduce the flash power or alter that. So if you go to a site and it's quite bright, it's very difficult to set the flash up. And what I do then is, if I take a photograph and I use my histogram, so I make sure that I'm within that histogram, I've got no highlights blown out. If I'm going after otters, and it's otters I'm going after next, the problem you've got with otters is they're wet. And when the flash hits the otter, it's like shiny mirror. So I tend to underexpose by about a stop. So about a stop I underexpose for otters, if I get the otters. And this is the flash setup I use. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to quick set up and set it up here now, and I'm going to fire it like it was set up in the wild. So I'm going to go ahead now and set it up. One thing I must add before I set it up is that what I do is that I have, because this is going to be in the open, it could be in the middle of a field, it could be under a tree, and it's going to get absolutely hammered with water when it rains, thunder and lightning, everything. So what I actually do is that this is simply a plastic zip tie bag. Nothing special about it. I put it over the flash and the sensor, and I pull the zip tie closed, and then I fold it over like that, and then I simply put a rubber band around it. And I've had these out for 6 years doing this, and I've never had anything fail, got wet yet. Sometimes the bag's a bit misted up, you're going to get that. But as for the Camtraption triggers and the Camtraption sensors, I've had no issues whatsoever with them at all. I put the plastic bag around it like that, and the plastic bag around the other one. And sometimes if I think it might be spotted, I have a ghillie suit, which I bought, which I've cut up, and it's camouflage, and I pull it over, tie it around here with a hole poking through, just so this doesn't stand out, that's all. So it's completely weather sealed. So I'm going to go ahead now and set it and have a walkthrough test. Okay, so I'll start assembling this. I've put the D3200 there with the transmitter on top. I've got a little Arca Swiss base plate there, and there's an Arca Swiss plate on there. So I've screwed, that's how that's fixed into there. Into the remote socket here, I've plugged the remote release there, which is here, which then goes into the receiver. And if you look at the receiver there, we are on channel 1. So of course the PIR fires on 1, and we plug that into the little, there's a socket, the little socket there says camera, another one there says 3.5 volts. Now I have some external battery packs what plug into there, and inside these I have two AAA batteries, and they last 4 to 5 days. They're normally adequate, they're fine. But if you want extended periods, you plug into there, and I've got 4 of them for the 4 sensors, triggers and receivers, and they'll give you over 2 weeks. I won't be using them in this case, so I'll just plug that into there, and then what I do there, I just simply tuck that nicely around the corner like that, and it just simply sits there like that. So we've got the PIR should I say, on channel 1 will fire a signal when something goes through it to this receiver. The receiver will send a signal to the camera will then fire. While it's firing and the shutter's open, it'll send a trigger to the transmitter will send a signal to the receivers on the flash, and the flash will fire, and it'll all do that in sync. Yep, and that's roughly what it looks like. I've got a little bit on the front of here. Here is a, I think it's 180mm UV filter, 180, it could be 195, I can't remember now without looking. And I also got a piece of pipe here, and I put a little slot in it, like that, put a little slot in it here, and so I can actually use that as a sunshade. So if I'm out in the open, and it will actually shade should you need it. So there's your waterproof housing. So we're going to go ahead now, set it up. Okay, so I'm about to start these flash tests now, but before I do a flash test, I've got the flashes turned off, and I'm going to take a picture at 1/200th of a second, which I've got it set at f8, ISO 200, and this is what we're seeing. So that's what we're getting now, and now I'm going to go and turn the flashes on and do a flash test so I can meter it, because I want about 6.3, 7.1, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, I've got my spare transmitter. This is actually transmitter, and it's on channel 1, so if I press the button, it's going to fire it the same as well if something went through the PIR. The PIR is turned the other way around, so it doesn't influence the shot. So I've got the transmitter. When I press the trigger, you see it flashes. So I'm going to put it down to where roughly I'm going to be, which is about there, and I'm looking for around 6.3. 6.3. One more time. 5.6. 6.3. So 6.3 seems to be, according to the meter, we set at 6.3. So I've got it at 200th of a second, and I'm going to turn the aperture to 6.3 and do a single shot using the sensor. So I'll do that now. Okay, this is a single shot, so this will be a wide animal coming past it, walking to the sensor, bang, it's got it. So it might freeze, it might walk back, and it'll get it again. So they're the single shots. So I'm going to the back of the camera now, just check stop flashing. I'm going to check now that they are actually okay. This time I've turned the camera, instead of single shot, I've got it to a multiple shot, and I've turned the sensitivity up on the PIR to maximum. So it should fire off instantly and fire for about 5 shots, all at the correct exposure. The flashes, because they're at 1/16 of the power, it's not a massive amount of power, but it's enough power for a good exposure, and it should keep up quite well. So I'm going to go around this edge of the chair so I don't set the flash off. Let's see how we get on with that. Okay, so I'm ready to come out. So what should happen now is I'm not in the view of the sensor now, but this could be a badger, or it could be the otters, which I'm after next week, or if you was in India, it could be a tiger. So you'll be all set up, and hopefully it should flash multiple times, hopefully 5 times. So I'm getting into the sensor now. Bang. So I'm going to go in again. So if I was running across, so that seems to work pretty, it'll flash a few. So that seems to work pretty well now. So I've got it firing at 5 frames a second. I've got the flash keeping up, and I can go out and replicate this, go into anywhere as a camera trap site, measure the distance from flash to subject at 2 meters, 16th power, and then we can put the aperture at f6.3 or thereabouts, and the shutter speed at 200th of a second, and we should get a shot. Now, if you're setting it up in dark conditions, then you can look on the back of your camera and see where you are. Now, when you're setting it up when the sun's out, and you're using this iconic light meter, and it's balancing the daylight against flash, not always accurate. You really need to get that light down to get your flash meter read accurate. And this is how I do it now, by replicating it, even if it's sunny, somewhere where I'm going to go sunny in the daytime, but I want it on at night time. I have my distance 2 meters, 16th power, 2 meters, 16th power. Of course, you can create modeling by turning one up and turning one down and adjusting your settings accordingly, but that's going to be my base for camera trapping. ISO 200, maybe 400, and if I'm going to shoot something and hopefully it's going to be daybreak and the sun could be rising, then I'll drop the shutter speed to maybe 40th or 60th a second, which will be dragging the shutter, so the first frame should get it, and it should stay open a little bit, and we should get a little bit of ambient light. But that's quite advanced, and that's in the future. But for now, this seems to work fine, so I'm going to pack this up, head down, and let's see if we can get some otters.